Alright guys, we're back in my garage for another video, and a lot of you saw my last track day video where I put my 340i on track and tested out the handling and tried to find the limits of the car, and of course got pretty frustrated with the results because I wasn't quite as fast as I wanted to be. And so a lot of you guys made suggestions in the comments about what I should do, and one of the top recommendations was to get coilovers, and people asking me why haven't I done coilovers yet. And so I wanted to make this video to answer that question and explain why. Now, before I jump into it, I want to know, what do you guys think the benefit of coilovers are? Why do you think I should get coilovers? Tell me, like, what's the point and why would coilovers make me faster? Leave a comment. I want to hear what you think. I'll give you a couple seconds. Go ahead. 3, 2, 1. You got it? Great. Wrong. You're wrong. I'm sorry, that was kind of aggressive, but most people I hear are wrong in why they think coilovers are a benefit, and I'll go ahead and tell you why. Actually, hold that thought. Let's go ahead and do a quick recap of what's already done to the car, because you guys didn't just suggest coilovers, you actually suggested a bunch of things that I have already done. So for all the people that are new, here's a recap of at least the handling mods that I've done to the car. First things first, the car is lowered. I don't know if you guys can tell from here, but it is lowered on H&R Sport springs. So those are just the blue entry-level springs, nothing too crazy. Those springs lower the car about an inch in the front, or a little over an inch in the front, and then a little less than an inch in the rear. So yes, the car is actually already lowered. I also have H&R sway bars front and rear. I believe the front is set to stiff, and then the rear isn't adjustable, so it's just the setting that comes out of the box. I also have these F80 brakes. So shameless plug, if you guys want adapters to fit F80 brakes on your 2, 3, or 4 series, or 1 series for those of you in Europe, let me know. I'll have a link to my adapters to fit those in the video description. I also have Milway camber plates, so that adjusts the front camber to a little over 3 degrees, and then in the rear, after doing the lowering springs, I was able to get it to about -2 degrees, so like -2.1 or something like that. That was the main reason I did the lowering springs, because I actually had stock suspension for a while on track. I've also got an M Performance LSD in the rear. This car is rear wheel drive, so it's a bolt-on upgrade. And I've got rear subframe bushings, and probably my favorite mod are my SPL control arms to set up the car better for lowering, as well as improve the roll center. So a lot of stuff done, guys. It's not a stock 340. I know, again, a lot of you guys were new, and that was probably my first track video that you saw. That was actually the best performing track video I've had on the channel, so thank you guys for watching that. But yeah, I've been building this car for 3 years, and this is kind of my idea behind it. I want a car that I can daily drive, but also take to the track. Nothing that takes it too far in the realm of track duty, but something that's plenty capable while still being comfortable as a daily. All right, and we're back. So let's go ahead and talk about why, after all that, I still haven't done coilovers on the car. And like I said, most people get the idea of why coilovers will be a benefit completely wrong. So for example, one of the top reasons I hear people say you want coilovers is to lower the car. And first of all, as you just heard, the car is already lowered. It's on lowering springs, so it's lower than it would be stock. But what's actually the benefit of lowering the car? Like, why would you want coilovers over, just lowering springs? I know a lot of people will tell you that when you lower the car, you lower the center of gravity, which makes the car handle better. So you're gonna want to lower the car if you want to improve how it goes around turns. But I would argue that lowering your car can definitely make the car handle worse. In reality, most people just want to lower their car for the aesthetics. They say they want to close the wheel gap so that the car looks better. And even though I'm probably not the best person to talk down on lowering your car for aesthetics, because my 440 is basically dragging its rear muffler on the ground, it's not really the point of this car. Even though I would love to see how it looked lowered, and I like lowered cars, if you're strictly going for performance, just lowering your car can absolutely make the car handle worse. That's because there are other components of the suspension geometry that need to be optimized when you lower the car, and that's why I added the SPL control arms. So just saying you need to put coilovers on to lower the car and that'll make it handle better is not fully understanding everything that you need to do to improve the handling of your car. The other thing I hear is the suspension will be stiffer. So if you go with coilovers, it'll be stiffer. It'll pair a stiffer spring with a shock that can handle it, so the car will overall be better. And again, stiffening the car doesn't automatically make it handle better. Like I said, my car has adaptive dampers, so I can actually change it between a stiff and a soft setting. And if I drive it on the stiff setting, the car is nervous, it's jerky, it's twitchy, and especially because of the way I drive, I like to go over curves and cut those corners as much as possible and drive really aggressively. It just doesn't work for me. So I actually leave my suspension in the softest setting. And if you disable all traction control in these cars, and go into DSC off, it leaves all of that in the softest setting. You get the slower throttle response, you get the softer suspension. Only thing that happens is it disables your traction and stability control, but it leaves all those other things in the soft mode so that you can get better control and manage it a lot easier. So I don't track my car in Sport Plus. I do everything in traction mode. What that does is it leaves a couple of the nannies on just because, I like the added protection to prevent me from doing the worst and hopefully having a bigger mistake, but it still gives me a little bit of slip so I can get around without any issues. Now, jumping in here because I got home and I realized I forgot to talk about one other benefit a lot of people tell me is linked to coilovers, and that is high speed stability. So when your car gets above 100, 110, 120 on stock suspension, a lot of people complain about the car feeling a little loose, the steering feels numb, and it just doesn't give you a lot of confidence. But after lowering the car, it feels a lot more planted and stable at high speeds. And so when you're doing like a 60 to 130, for example, it can almost feel unsafe to do that on stock suspension. And while I agree lowering the car can help with that, it's very much a band-aid because it's not a characteristic of your suspension. It's a characteristic of the aerodynamics of your car. Most street cars aren't designed to generate downforce. So what that means is when you're driving through the road, at a normal speed, everything feels fine. But the faster you go, you'll start getting a lot of air under the car, and that air will actually push up on the car and generate lift. And so that upward force is what makes the steering feel light, because you basically don't have, the car pushing down on the ground as much. Now you have more air pushing up on the car. And by lowering the car, less air goes under it, which means it generates less lift. So lowering the car can be a band-aid to help with that, but it doesn't actually fix the root cause of the problem. And I did perfectly fine driving the car on stock suspension, even at speeds over 110, 120, 130 on track. So it's not really a limitation of the car. It's more about confidence in the car and making sure that it feels stable so that you can push it to the actual limit. So yeah, lowering the car doesn't automatically make it better. Stiffening the car doesn't automatically make it better. So if that's what a coilover does, then what is the point of coilovers? So this is my opinion. This is how I approach things, and this is how I think about coilovers. I know somebody's going to disagree, but the benefit of coilovers is adjustability. That's it. When you get your coilovers, you're not just meant to slap them on your car and walk away. You're meant to adjust them to set the car up exactly how you want it. So it's not about lowering the car, it's about setting your ride height. It's not about stiffening your car, it's about setting the damping and rebound that gives your car the best handling. And when you're driving your car, you're meant to actually make those adjustments based on the track and your driving conditions and whatever's going on to make sure that it's doing exactly what you want it to do. So for example, with the ride height, it's not a set it and forget it thing like lowering springs, right? You've got the actual adjustable collar so that you can raise the car and lower your car how you wish. But it's not just about raising it and lowering it to a set ride height. If you take weight out of the car is going to automatically lift up. So now you can lower it back down to the ride height it was at before. If you want to corner balance your car, probably the biggest benefit, now you can bring it to an alignment shop and get everything set, you know, put your driver weight in the front seat and make sure that the car is fully even and none of the wheels are overloaded and everything is as balanced as possible. So when you make a left turn, the car turns just as quickly as when you make a right turn. And when you slam on the brakes, it's not going to, you know, dive really hard. When you get on the gas, it's not going to lean back really hard. It sets everything to be as balanced and flat as possible. But you have to do that in a controlled environment by a professional that can do that properly. That's not something that most people will just do in their garage. The same thing goes for stiffness. If you want to adjust the damping or the rebound, the compression characteristics of your coilovers, you're going to have to turn those knobs to make the adjustments. And the even bigger thing with this is, you know, that's important because when those capabilities are added to coilovers, it gets more expensive, and it gets very expensive very fast. There are coilovers that are $4,000 or $5,000 nowadays because there's so much adjustability in what you can do to the suspension. So I think that's one of those things, again, a lot of people just kind of set it in the middle, or they say they want it soft or stiff, and then they just drive the car like that forever, and that's not really the intent. When you go to a track, you're supposed to adjust it and say, hey, this track is really smooth, it's really flat, I can run it stiffer, versus you go to a track where it's bumpy and you say, okay, I need to soften it so that the car doesn't get upset. Things like that are meant to be adjusted on the fly, and at each corner you can make those adjustments based on how many left turns you have, how many right turns you have, you know, all of those different things. So it's not just about automatically making it stiff, it's about setting it to the appropriate stiffness for where your car is going to be driving. Even the springs are meant to be swapped. A lot of companies like H&R and Eibach, they sell different springs so that if you modify your car, like I said, changing the weight or any other modifications that could, you know, change the balance of the car, you can change your front springs, you can change your rear springs, you can do whatever makes the most sense to swap those out easily and make sure that you're getting the performance you're looking for. So that's really the benefit of coilovers. Not just one specific change to your car, but having the adjustability to set it to whatever the best option would be for your specific driving style and where you're driving. So with all that being said, I haven't upgraded my car with coilovers because I don't intend to do all that. I don't intend to get a corner balance. I don't intend to be, you know, adjusting knobs and stuff at the track. I really just want to enjoy it as it is, as a fun street car. And like I said, that was the whole point of this build. I want to have a car that I can daily drive during the week and track on the weekends and have a nice balance between the two. With coilovers, I would lose the adaptive functionality that I still do enjoy on the street. I like how it drives. I like being able to change the settings. Stiff is fun, right? Like, stiff doesn't actually always make the car faster, but it does feel fun when the car is darty and it's stiff sometimes. So I like to, you know, be able to adjust that inside of the car instead of getting under the car or removing the shocks to turn knobs. So that's why I just went with lowering springs instead. If there were benefits with coilovers, I would argue that it would be very hard for me to extract those benefits, because when you get to the point of corner balancing the car and setting all of those things, it's going to be like tenths of a second, right? It's not something that's going to take seconds off of your lap time. And if I was racing and making money and getting paid to do this, I absolutely would go that route and try to extract it. But for somebody like me that's just doing it as a hobby, honestly, I don't think it's worth it. If you got them and you enjoy them, awesome, more power to you. There are a lot of other benefits, like I said, aesthetically and stuff, that can allow coilovers to be a great upgrade for your car. But when I'm strictly thinking of performance and looking at a limitation of the car, I just don't see coilovers as being one of the main ones. So let me know your thoughts. Were you already kind of on this thought process with me, or do you completely disagree and still disagree? Think I'm way off the mark? Let me know. But otherwise, that's it for this video. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope this helps. And if you have any other questions or comments, leave them down below.